Tonight, should the province consider banning social media for kids under 16? A policy issue the Saskatchewan NDP has with the new federal NDP leader. And an Indigenous organization demands accountability from the FSIN.
Live from our studios in Regina, this is CTV News.
Good evening. It's a question parents have been debating recently. Just how damaging mentally and emotionally is social media for children? Australia has banned all social media for kids under 16, with several other countries looking at following suit. Now, as Sierra D'Souza Butts tells us, Premier Scott Moe wants to know what Saskatchewan thinks about a possible ban.
How often are Regina teenagers using social media?
Every day.
Quite often, actually. I like to use Pinterest, TikTok.
With Premier Scott Moe suggesting Canada should be considering options to limit social media use by minors, some teens are in support.
I think kids under 16 should just, be kids and not be on social media all the time because it can be very dangerous.
According to a recent Angus Reid poll, 75% of Canadians would support a full ban on social media for those under the age of 16.
That under 16 ban is popular, regardless of whether you've got a teenager at home.
The survey also found the majority of Canadian respondents share concerns over children's potential exposure to misinformation, cyberbullying, explicit content, addiction, and negative mental health impacts.
When we asked the question about what should be banned, which platforms should be banned, of course, some people said all of them, but the ones at the top of those lists were, it was TikTok, it was Instagram.
In an update posted to social media Monday morning, Moe cited the survey's results, saying the government will be asking Saskatchewan people for their views on the matter in the coming weeks.
People across the province on, what space should the government enter into, whether it's representing their views within a potential federal government initiative in this space, or whether it's something that we should look at more at a provincial level.
The survey also raised the question about who should be responsible for managing the social media use of teens, with more than 72% of Canadians agreeing it should be parents and not the government. Sierra D'Souza Butts, CTV News, Regina.
Saskatchewan NDP leader Carla Beck is distancing her party from the newly elected federal NDP leader. Beck says she will not meet with Avi Lewis until he changes his stance on natural resource development. Wayne Mantika has the details.
Saskatchewan NDP leader Carla Beck is voicing disapproval with the policies of her new national leader. Avi Lewis is opposed to new fossil fuel infrastructure. Beck has sent a letter to the new leader saying the positions that you have taken when it comes to natural resource development are ideological and unrealistic. They would hurt Saskatchewan workers, communities, and industries. She's not interested in a meeting.
I have a calendar right now that doesn't allow a lot of extra outside of all of what we're doing here in Saskatchewan.
Beck's concerns about energy policy are shared by Alberta's NDP leader. Lewis welcomes debate within the party.
We don't have to agree on every little thing in order to do big things together. So I can't wait to do big things on housing, on healthcare, and on the cost of living.
While Beck is distancing herself from the National Party, her political opponents in Saskatchewan are attempting to draw a link.
With respect to Saskatchewan people being ready for change, they should know what that change might look like, Mr. Speaker. That change would include shutting down the energy and natural resource industry, Mr. Speaker.
Beck is attempting to change the channel.
I sent a letter. I think folks have seen it. I was pretty clear in that letter. It says everything that I want to say on the matter.
NDP leader Carla Beck had no opinion on whether provincial New Democrats should break away from the national organization. She says that would be a decision for the party membership to make. Wayne Mantika, CTV News, Regina.
Meanwhile, the Minister of Advanced Education is defending his rental history after the details of his constituency office were called into question. Hallie Mandrick has more.
This office has become a point of controversy among Saskatchewan's elected officials. Since 2010, the building has been a taxpayer-funded constituency office for Ken Cheveldayoff, the Minister of Advanced Education.
A lawyer approached me about sharing the office. I contacted the Ledge Assembly. I said, we're going to split things 50-50. It's going to be a split lease. And later on, they said that subleases weren't allowed. I said, well, mine's not really a sublease. They're not subbing from me. They're splitting it.
It was previously shared with a law firm which had a history of donating to the Saskatchewan Party. At the time of entering into what Cheveldayoff described as a split lease, there were no legislative rules against subletting or renting out constituency offices. This changed in 2016 when an update to the rules banned agreements of the sort. A recently published CBC article alleges that Cheveldayoff improperly subletted the space to the law firm after receiving a warning from the Speaker of the House in 2024.
Cheveldayoff was warned multiple times that he was indeed in breach of the rules, but continued nonetheless. Bottom line is this: Saskatchewan people expect their elected officials not only to have rules, but to follow those rules.
Cheveldayoff argues this is not the case. He says, at the advice of the Speaker, he entered into a new lease agreement in 2024, which corresponded with the closure of the law office in November of 2024, going on to say that these financial records are all publicly available.
Every month, half the bills were paid by myself and half by the other party. And again, every month I thought that it was a good deal for taxpayers.
Cheveldayoff added that he plans to find a new office in the near future, citing that since becoming the sole occupant of the building, it's more space than what's necessary. Hallie Mandrick, CTV News, Saskatoon.
Saskatchewan's health minister credits the new Regina Breast Health Centre as a key factor in a reduction in wait times for breast cancer diagnostics.
It's been highly successful. You know, that in combination of recruiting a couple breast radiologists specifically here to the city of Regina, we've brought the biopsy wait times down 87% in the last year. That's really good for the women of Regina and southern Saskatchewan.
The government is also extending a deal, sending some patients to receive diagnostics at a private Calgary clinic, another factor that he feels is lowering wait times. Cockrell said the province will reevaluate that deal again before it expires in March of 2027. But the government wants to provide as many options as possible as Saskatchewan continues trying to build up its capacity. Saskatchewan's new agreement with the federal government for $10 a day childcare comes into effect on Wednesday. But as Donovan Mace tells us, some daycare centres are raising concerns, saying they still don't know what it entails and what it means for them.
As a mother, Bailey Fleck says the $10 a day childcare agreement has been game-changing. But as the operator of a daycare in Beanfate, it's left her high and dry.
We did not expect to be in the financial position that we're in now.
She was quick to sign up when the agreement was created in 2021.
When we initially signed on, fees were way lower, you know, prices in everything in the economy was lower. So it's really kind of caught up with us now because we haven't been able to increase our fees.
Now, the province signed a new deal with Ottawa in November to keep childcare at $10 a day. It also increases the age eligibility from 5 to 6 years old and provides $1.6 billion in subsidies to Saskatchewan daycares, with base funding for programs increasing 3% each year, starting in 2027. But Flex says that's not enough for her operation, which has had to dip into reserves and relies heavily on fundraising just to stay open.
If we stopped doing our fundraising, I would say that we would have probably about 2, maybe 3 years. We'd really have to cut some corners.
CTV News reached out to the province for a response but did not receive one by deadline. Fleck wants providers to be a part of the conversations so her daycare may continue to serve her community.
We want to make sure that childcare centres across the province are flourishing and not drowning. We want to make sure that we're playing a vital role in the children's future.
Donovan May, CTV News, Regina.
Construction is underway at the new Regina Specialized Long-Term Care Home. The facility is a multi-story building located south of the Sask Polytech campus and will have 240 long-term care beds. The project includes individual resident rooms with bathrooms, indoor and outdoor multi-purpose spaces, and Indigenous gathering spaces. Construction began in September of 2025 and anticipated to be complete by fall of 2028. Late this afternoon, the federal government is temporarily lifting the ban on strychnine in Saskatchewan and Alberta to combat the increase of gophers damaging crops. Now, last week, the two prairie provinces submitted a joint emergency use request to Health Canada, stating a gopher infestation was creating millions of dollars worth of damage. Under the Pest Control Products Act, Ottawa is authorizing Saskatchewan and Alberta to register strychnine for use until November of 2027. The federal government points to the ongoing challenges for farmers, including market uncertainty, trade barriers, and a changing climate for making this decision. All right, Sabine now joins us for our first look at weather. We didn't really touch on it too much, but yes, the snow was falling once again.
Yeah, I mean, it may not feel like it because there were some drifts that we saw, probably less than 5 centimeters of snow, despite what the special weather statements were saying, Lee, that we could see anywhere up to about 10 to 15 centimeters of snow. But it's not the end of the snow. Temperature-wise, we didn't quite get to what our seasonal averages are usually this time of year. +5 is what we're normally sitting at as a daytime high. We didn't even bump up above 0 today. And the snow, light snow, continues heading into this evening. And we should start to see those special weather statements lift as we head into the overnight and first thing tomorrow morning. Still something to keep an eye on, though, is the highway hotline, as we're still going to see some of that freezing rain, especially in parts closer to the southern border, including areas in and around Regina, where we are seeing some of that freezing drizzle, which creates that black ice effect. As we continue to see this snow system clearing out for the next few days, we'll see a gradual warm up, getting us back up to seasonal and warmer than seasonal by Easter weekend. But as the weekend ends, the snow returns, and I'll talk more about that in the forecast. Lee?
All right, thank you, Sabine. With an AI data center owned by Bell set to be operational soon just outside of Regina next year, some concerned residents gathered at the Regina Public Library on the weekend. The people at this meeting felt that there's been a lack of transparency from Bell, who also owns Bell Media and CTV. They're also concerned about the amount of water and power used, along with data safety.
It's the latest tech craze. We came and passed through NFTs, we came and passed through Bitcoins. This is just the latest trend of a very grubby money-making scheme that has put many communities at risk, many people at risk. It is not of the community, it is not of the people, it is of the ruling minority against the working majority.
Now, this group plans to protest on April 18th outside of the Saskatchewan Legislative Building. 2 young men are facing charges after a stabbing incident in Regina on the weekend. Just before 10 in the evening Saturday, Regina police received a report of multiple people being assaulted on the 1600 block of Ray Street. Officers found a male victim outside a residence that had been stabbed and bear sprayed. Along with the K-9 unit, police found and arrested 2 suspects on the 2600 block of Dutney Avenue. One suspect, an 18-year-old man, made his first court appearance this morning. The other, a 17-year-old youth, will appear in court on May the 13th. 2 people are dead, another in hospital after a collision involving a vehicle that police say failed to stop for an Estevan officer. In the early evening of March the 27th, an officer observed the truck speeding on Highway 39. When the officer attempted to pull over the truck, the vehicle didn't stop and ended up later colliding with a car. Both the driver and passenger of the car, a 46-year-old man from Estevan and a 40-year-old woman from Lampman, were declared dead on scene. The truck driver was transported by air ambulance to hospital with serious injuries. RCMP are investigating under oversight from CERT since an officer from Estevan was attempting to stop the truck before the collision happened. The FSIN continues to defend itself from former members and other Indigenous organizations attacking their credibility after a recent audit. Now the Saskatoon Tribal Council is calling on accountability from the FSIN to, in their words, save the future of that organization. Keenan Sorkon has the latest.
I've never ever seen it this bad.
Questions are piling up from Saskatchewan chiefs about a federal audit calling for nearly $29 million to be repaid. They say it's time for reform and for the FSIN to answer to its people.
FSIN is not a government. When the chief and the vice chiefs are reporting to the board, which is themselves. So basically it's police investigating police. which we all say is a problem.
Arcand laid out how FSIN represents 74 First Nations in Saskatchewan, and they're the governments. However, he believes the FSIN executive is acting more in its self-interest instead of other First Nations. Arcand serves on the FSIN Treasury Board, but he has not seen any details of FSIN spending, and the board was not involved in the process when the FSIN says it went through hundreds of lines of the audit. Arcand says no meeting has been called in the wake of the audit scandal.
The First Nations of Saskatchewan should not pay for this at all, but they are going to pay for it because our people are not going to get the services from this organization.
Wapas and Arcand are concerned about the FSIN's reputation and future moving forward. Wapas says Thunderchild is distancing itself financially from the FSIN.
We're trying to protect the institution, while perhaps others are trying to protect the individual or individuals.
As these chiefs call for accountability, Rob Louie, the man who leaked details online, made it to Saskatoon Monday and handed over his documents to Saskatoon police. The FSIN says expenses are not approved by the executive but by management, Treasury Board, and the Financial Audit Committee. The organization says comments made by Arcand have the potential to impact relationships with partners and funders. Chiefs are set to gather for an assembly in North Battleford in 2 weeks, and Arcand is hoping this audit will be the only agenda item. Keenan Sorakan, CTV News, Saskatoon.
The Provincial Capital Commission is advising the public about a prescribed burn at 5 sites in Wascana Centre. The planned burn will go from April the 20th to 24th and are meant to control invasive exotic plants, reduce hazardous fuel loads, and stimulate native grass regeneration. If weather conditions such as too much wind maybe happen the day of the burn, it will be rescheduled. 7 local businesses have designed and built children's playhouses as a part of a fundraiser for Habitat for Humanity Saskatchewan. Through Project Playhouse, people had the chance to vote for their favorite playhouse, along with placing bids to purchase any of the little homes for sale. The playhouses were on display at the Regina Spring Home Show this past weekend. It's the first time Habitat for Humanity Saskatchewan is putting on this unique fundraiser.
Some of the organizations or companies that have built the playhouses, like Collaborative Construction, Fries Tallman, there's 1080 Architecture, Scott Collegiate, the kids there at Scott Collegiate built their playhouse, and they're actually going to donate it back to their daycare, which is really amazing. And again, this is just about community, right, coming together.
Habitat for Humanity Saskatchewan says it will be posting the winners of the playhouses on their social media Tuesday. Still ahead, should Canada remove the federal tax on fuel to make gas more affordable? AI is making it more difficult to determine what videos are real online. Canadians are cutting back not just on traveling, but other expenses to afford these higher gas prices we're seeing. The war in Iran has been impacting costs, but so will the switch over to summer gas. As Jonathan Valley-Rao tells us, some countries are coming up with ways to reduce the pain at the pump.
With drivers continuing to feel the squeeze, many worry the cost of that fill-up will keep on going up.
We have nothing to do with the war, but we're paying for it. Painful, you know?
In Toronto, gas is back above $1.70, and some hoping politicians will soon step in to offer some relief.
The gas is too expensive now. I don't like it, so I plan to change to the electric car now.
To drive down the pressure at the pumps, in some parts of Australia, states have made public transportation free. The country's tax on fuel and diesel is also being cut in half for 3 months.
We understand the cost pressures for people are very real as the impact of the war on the other side of the world plays out right here.
Italy's prime minister also moved to temporarily cut a consumer tax on fuel. And the Canadian Taxpayers Federation is pushing for governments to offer up the same here.
The least they could do would be to temporarily suspend their fuel taxes, but they should be providing real full-time relief.
The group noting the federal government charges an excise tax of 10 cents per litre for gas, 4 cents per litre on diesel. Provinces have their own fuel taxes, and there's GST added.
Some of these taxes are very painful. If you look at places like Vancouver or Montreal, taxes are costing up to about 65 cents per litre of gasoline.
With the war in Iran now into its 5th week and oil prices again climbing, the federal finance minister was asked if the government would cut fuel taxes like Australia.
I mean, we're following the situation very carefully.
The minister wouldn't say, while noting Canada is increasing oil production. Meanwhile, other countries like Spain, Portugal, and Ireland have also cut taxes on gas and diesel, at least temporarily. John Venavalle-Rouse, CTV News, Toronto.
In the Middle East, 3 UN peacekeepers from Indonesia have been killed in southern Lebanon in the past 24 hours. The United Nations says attacks on peacekeepers are violations of international humanitarian law and may account to war crimes. Israel and the Lebanese militant group Hezbollah have been fighting for about a month now. The U.S. and Israel also continue to exchange fire with Iran. Now, today, Donald Trump threatened widespread destruction of Iran's energy resources and other vital infrastructure if a deal is not reached shortly. The U.S. president also mentions an Iranian island oil hub that he suggests could be seized by American troops. Tehran has threatened to mine the Persian Gulf if its territory is invaded. Well, it's becoming a difficult task on social media deciphering whether the video posted is real or fake. It's becoming increasingly difficult because of artificial intelligence. Major world events are now often met with an influx of false and misleading videos created by AI that circulate online. Adrian Gabriel has more on a battle between truth and misinformation.
I'm encouraging you to register for our online program.
This fake AI-generated video of Prime Minister Mark Carney pitching an investment opportunity has lured an untold number of Canadians. It was created by doctoring this actual Canada Day message.
And reinvest in our armed forces.
It's just a drop in an ocean of false, misleading videos created by using AI circulating online.
It's a fundamental challenge to our shared understanding of reality.
The boundaries of reality are being tested with alarming frequency since the war in Iran began. This fake video, recently shared by thousands, claimed that Iranian drones caused this damage in Dubai. This phony footage showing Iranian bombs raining down on Tel Aviv was reposted on Elon Musk's X social media site, with the platform's AI chatbot Grok telling users that yes, this is authentic footage from Tel Aviv, even though it wasn't.
This is going to become an issue across virtually every scope of life as our information ecosystem continues to fragment and people will pick and choose aspects of reality that they choose to believe.
Hi, Donald John Trump. Those increasingly in charge of the information highway are a small group of tech leaders, many of whom were front and center at President Donald Trump's 2025 inauguration.
When we think about challenges to Canadian sovereignty through sponsoring various separatist movements, I think we need to be thinking about the potential exposure that Canadians have to American malign forces.
Since August 2023, Meta removed all Canadian news from Facebook and Instagram in response to the Online News Act that requires platforms compensate news publishers for profiting off their content. Filling the gap on Meta, a proliferation of posts masquerading as fact-based news. CTV News asked Meta about the perceived threat to Canadian sovereignty posed by divisive, misleading posts on its site. They didn't respond, though we did track down Canada's Minister of Identity and Culture.
It's creating an atmosphere that is very unhealthy.
Ottawa has shared that discussions with Meta to lift the news block are ongoing. This at a time when deciphering fact from fiction online grows more challenging by the hour.
Those we spoke with believe the best line of defense against all forms of misinformation is education and civic engagement to ensure that Canada has an accurately informed electorate. Adrian Gabriel, CTV News, Toronto.
And an Air Canada employee is facing charges for allegedly attempting to traffic cannabis into Germany through the luggage tags of unsuspecting passengers. Police say they were called to Toronto Pearson Airport February 19th after border agents discovered 66 kilograms of cannabis in the luggage of 2 German citizens prior to departing on a flight to Germany. Police say the passengers were traveling separately and did not know each other and had not checked the luggage. Air Canada employee Atasha Withley was arrested on March 12th and faces several charges. Coming up, we're used to spring snowstorms in Saskatchewan, but it's still slowing things down and in some cases postponing travel.
The Saskatchewan NDP are distancing themselves from their federal counterparts. Tuesday on Your Morning, we're gathering more reaction to the new federal leader and how his views differ from the provincial party.
Welcome back, and this is what we're looking at outside right now. It looks like it could be misty, but again, it's more like freezing rain, freezing drizzle actually, which is worse than freezing rain because that's what's creating the black ice that we have to deal with on the highways. And I did double check the highway hotline before coming back into the studio, and some areas are marked as blue, which is travel not recommended. So if you do not need to be traveling, especially tonight and into tomorrow morning, maybe give yourself a little time before you have to head out there. Now, currently we're sitting at -5 in the Regina area. Winds at just under 15 kilometers an hour. Wind chill of about -10. We did see some stronger wind gusts late this afternoon coming through, but those have since settled. And as we head into this evening, we'll start to see more of this snow clearing out of Saskatchewan, heading into Manitoba. We still do have those special weather statements in place right now, but again, the weather statements we're talking about, many areas seeing up to about 10, 15, even some localized areas seeing up to 20 centimeters of snow. As of right now, we haven't seen that, but there still are parts of the parkland that could see some of that heavier snowfall heading into tonight and clearing by tomorrow morning. So we'll keep an eye on that. But in terms of what's to come after this system clears out this evening and into the overnight, you're starting your day with mostly cloudy conditions. Southwest looking like we'll start the day out with a little bit more sunshine and clear conditions there. And throughout the day, we will see those clouds breaking up by the afternoon, leaving us with a mix of sun and cloud. In some areas, mainly sunny conditions. So this is basically the picture we're seeing for southern Saskatchewan for the next few days. We will see a mix of sun and cloud. By the time we get into Thursday, though, we could start to see heavier cloud cover moving in. Even by Wednesday night, that's where we're seeing that. Now, as of right now, we've got a couple of different models because this is just the way spring storm systems look. By Thursday, it does look like there is a slight chance we could start to see a little bit more of scattered flurries coming through southern Saskatchewan, and that does include areas around the Moose Jaw, Regina area as well. So we could see more scattered flurries there, but it's not until we get into just after Easter into Monday where there is a possibility we could see another system similar to what we saw come through the last day or so, bringing a little bit more snow and possibly some freezing rain in the mix. But again, that's not until Monday evening, a week from now, so systems change. So let's just focus on what's to come heading into tomorrow. And the good news is we're starting to see those temperatures gradually warm up. Some areas above 0, La Loche, L'Orange +1 tomorrow, 0 and fog for Lloydminster tomorrow, -2 and a mix of sun and cloud for Prince Albert. -2 and mainly sunny for Saskatoon, -3 and a mix of sun and cloud for Yorkton, 0 for North Battleford. In the southwest, we're back into that seasonal range. 4 degrees for Maple Creek, mostly cloudy, 2 for Swift Current, mostly cloudy, -1 for Moose Jaw and a mix of sun and cloud in the southeast, also seeing similar temperatures, -2 for Estevan, -1 for Weyburn, Assiniboia +1 with a mix of sun and cloud. And for us in Regina tonight, dipping to -10, a little cooler than the average low, and then tomorrow warming to -3. Winds not too bad, 5 to 15 kilometers an hour, and a mix of sun and cloud. So what's to come? Here it is. We'll see that gradual warm up, and especially for Easter weekend, we're looking at some really nice conditions. But again, -3 tomorrow, mix of sun and cloud, -1 and mostly cloudy Wednesday. By Thursday, that is the day where we could possibly see some precipitation coming through. 0 is the expected high. Friday +2 and cloudy. And then by Saturday and Sunday, we're looking at 6 degrees as your daytime high for both Saturday and Sunday. It's Sunday evening that we could see some snow, and even actually possibly Saturday night, some light flurries. But then by Monday evening is where we'll start to really see the precipitation coming through. As of right now, could be just under 5 centimeters of snow expected Monday night. 4 degrees is the expected daytime high. After we get over that hump, though, Lee, it's looking like less and less precipitation in the form of snow, but rain could start to make its appearance, and that's April showers bring May flowers.
Right, and as long as it doesn't bother seeding in time for seeding, farmers will take any precipitation you want. Just
that's right.
Leave seeding alone. Yeah. All right. Thank you very much, Sabine.
You bet.
All right. Well, she mentioned highway travel a little bit more difficult right now. Earlier today wasn't actually that bad. Had some areas that were covered with snow. Most roads leading Regina were snow covered, and there were no travel not recommended. As she mentioned, that is not the case anymore. There is now travel not recommended on some roads. But Shayab Carr tells us traveling through the air was also experiencing a few delays today.
The common theme of the day, as you can see here behind me, was empty luggage carousels as wintry weather forced the cancellation of several arrivals and departures from the Queen City and across the country. Plenty of red on the flight boards at the Regina International Airport. Due to wintry conditions in Regina and cities across the country, WestJet had to cancel 8 outgoing flights on Monday, along with 2 on Tuesday. But the Regina Airport Authority is confident that as the snow melts and the weather warms up, things will go back to status quo.
This morning, there was a little bit of concerns for visibility, but now it's looking a lot better. And our team was ready for this, so they were out there all night clearing those runways. So it's safe and clear, so I think we'll get back on time soon.
The freeze and thaw cycle also presenting issues for City of Regina workers who are out in full force ensuring slick roads were made safe to drive on.
It causes us a bit of an operational adjustment. We, in the mornings, for example, we may have sanders out for a few hours in the morning till it warms up, and then we have to transition into something different, for example, filling potholes.
Back at the airport with flights to and from places like Calgary, Minneapolis, Cancun, and Puerto Vallarta being canceled, the airport authority wants travelers to double check before making the trip to the airport.
So people are looking with their airline, they're getting ahead of there instead of just coming to the airport and checking it out. So we want to encourage everybody to just check with their airline before they come to the airport so they know exactly what's going on and the most up-to-date information.
A Saskatchewan snow dump never failing to affect things even in late March. Jacob Carr, CTV News, Regina.
Still ahead, the Regina Pats return home after earning a split on the road with the Medicine Hat Tigers. WHL playoffs, Regina Pats are returning to the Brandt Centre with the series tied at 1, earning a split on the road in Medicine Hat with a 4-2 win Saturday night.
Led behind the net of Switzer, wrap around, sharp angle shot, he scores!
Only 3 times in the regular season had Medicine Hat been held to 2 goals or less in a game, and the Pats were able to do that on Saturday. Tigers head coach Willie Desjardins calling Regina the hungrier team as the Pats expect a different Medicine Hat team for games 3 and 4.
They're hungrier than us right now. They won a lot of battles. They won more battles than us last night. Like, it's not like we didn't play hard. They're a good hockey team. Like, you know, you can look at us and say it's all us, but it's not all us.
No one's given us hope. Everyone said we're going to get swept. You know, we're not going to keep them under 8. You know, we've kept them under 30 shots 2 games in a row. Everyone wants to point to a 6-2 game, and anyone that was there wasn't a 6-2 game.
The series turns its attention now to Regina for games 3 and 4 at the Brandt Centre. Game 3 set for Tuesday night with game 4 on Wednesday. Meanwhile, SJHL, the Yorkton Terriers will look to close out the Melville Millionaires tonight in game 6 of their quarterfinal series.
The shot, that's blocked. Fairwall got in front of that. Courchain up top. Reese takes the shot, scores!
On Saturday in Game 5, Thomas Reese, Tyler Palin scored power play goals just 17 seconds apart as the Terriers beat Melville 4-1, taking a 3-2 series lead. Yorkton also had double the amount of shots Melville did, so Mills are going to need to get more shots, more rubber on Caleb Craig. Puck drop is 7 o'clock in Melville at the CN Community Centre.
Working down low south of the goal line, throws it in front, high slot, shot, they score.
Nipawin Hawks guy sounded excited with that goal, didn't he? Weyburn can also advance with a win in Game 6 at home versus Nipawin on Saturday. Game 5, Red Wings, their power play exploded. 5 power play goals as Weyburn won 6-1. Lucas Schmid had 3 assists in the win. Game 6 tonight after 7 o'clock at the Whitecap Resources Centre. Still ahead, Health Canada suspends Saskatoon's Prairie Harm Reduction's exemption to operate.
Let's get into your rural forecast heading into tomorrow. Expecting to see much more sunshine in the forecast for many rural areas. And the temperature is a little warmer than what we've been seeing over the last day or so, including areas bumping back up above 0 like Meadow Lake at 1 degree, 0 for Lloydminster with a mix of sun and cloud, 0 also for Hudson Bay, and then cooling in areas like, well, I shouldn't say cooling, basically similar to what we saw today. Wynyard -4 tomorrow, -3 for Melfort, and -2 for Watrous, and outlook a little bit more cloud cover for Kindersley at at -2. When we get closer to the southern border, though, that's where we see those temperatures really bumping up above 0. 4 degrees for Maple Creek, mostly cloudy. 1 for Leader and East End Cypress with mostly cloudy conditions. Over in the southeast, -4 for Broadview, -3 and a mix of sun and cloud for Kenora and Carlisle, and also for Pilot Butte and Lumsden. 2 degrees for Coronach with a mix of sun and cloud. If we take a closer look at Springside, located about 25 kilometers northwest of Yorkton, and also where internet speeds up to 1 gig available through SaskTel, still have less than about 5 centimeters of snow expected tonight, but tomorrow warming up to -3 with a mix of sun and cloud and winds up to 20 kilometers an hour.
The incidents happened between July of 2025 and March of 2026. A man has attended several businesses across Regina, stealing more than $1,000 worth of merchandise. Here are a few pictures of the man in question. Several times he has worn an Atlanta Braves ball cap, that's the ball cap with an A on it, as well as a black and gray Fox ball cap during his shoplifting. If you know who this man is, call Crime Stoppers.
I'm Constable Dana Adams with the Regina Police Service. Crime Stoppers will pay up to $2,000 cash reward for information on this or any other serious crime in Regina. Callers do not have to identify themselves. Calls are not traced or recorded. In Regina, Saskatchewan, and Canada, call Crime Stoppers at 1-800-222-TIPS. That's 1-800-222-8477. You can also access our website at www.reginacrimestoppers.ca. Remember, our community suffers when you remain silent. Please report crime.
Crime Stoppers is brought to you by Leak Audiology, helping you live well with better hearing.
Health Canada has suspended Saskatoon's Prairie Harm Reduction's exemption to operate amid financial pressures. In a news release, Prairie Harm Reduction says its exemption was suspended last Thursday. The exemption allows supervised consumption sites to legally operate, permitting the possession and use of controlled substances for harm reduction and overdose prevention. The organization says the suspension was not unexpected, and it is working with Health Canada to have it reinstated. In a letter obtained by CTV News, the provincial government asked Ottawa not to renew the site's exemption. The Riversdale Business Improvement District says it supports the province in that request, saying the site has impacted businesses in the area.
People do have security and safety concerns because of all the people that are congregating, the demographic that's congregating.
The suspension comes as the organization faces a significant financial shortfall. Its executive director was terminated last week, and external financial experts are now reviewing its financial reporting. A grade 10 student is bringing youth and seniors together through a chess tournament fundraiser in Regina. After organizing an inter-school chess championship at his high school last fall, a student from Shelton Williams Collegiate noticed there was a strong interest for chess among youth. With the goal of expanding that interest to seniors while raising money for children's education abroad, he organized the 55-plus Charity Chess Challenge with a group of like-minded students.
Recall back to the moment I'd gone to Bangladesh and shared that in my speech, and that moment really sticks with me since it shows the unequal opportunities that exist within our world and society, and I wanted to tackle that through a way that I know how, and through chess.
Adding all the money raised from the charitable event will go towards sponsoring a child's education through Plan International Canada, and although a small turnout of players happened, he plans to keep on bringing people together through future initiatives. A little more than a year after shutting down, Peavey Mart has reopened in the city of Yorkton. The farm and ranch supply chain closed all of its 90 stores, 13 in Saskatchewan in January 2025. In April of last year, an investment group bought the rights to Peavey Mart and announced it would open a few stores to re-establish its presence in Western Canada. The store had its soft launch in Yorkton last Thursday and is planning a grand opening on April the 9th. They expanded their gardening product range and will also offer live chicks soon.
I've just been doing a meet and greet at the store, talking to people, showing people around, and I have been trying to get some feedback from them overall, and I think it's very positive. Very positive. A lot of people miss the store. Our household missed the store.
A store is also going to be reopening soon in the town of Assiniboia. All right, farm market boards, canola street price down $4.60 to $656.73 per ton. Futures price up $6.90 to $727.70 per ton. Street price of Amber Durum wheat's the same, $278.59 per ton. Red spring wheat is up 67 cents to $281.89 per ton. Feed barley, $232, 1 cent per ton. Flax, $670.54 per ton. Those prices courtesy of Bunge and Ice Futures Canada. Markets, the TSX dropped by 25 points. The Dow Jones rose slightly by 49 points. As for the Canadian dollar, no slight there. It dropped a decent amount, between 0.2 and 0.3 cents to 71.80 cents U.S. Commodity front, gold up $16.83. West Texas Intermediate crude up $5.32, while Western Canadian Select crude dropped $2.81. And gas right now in Regina is sitting at $1.63.9 per liter.
As on the flip side, uncertainty drags down the markets. West Texas Intermediate futures rose more than 3% today, the highest since July 2022, and Brent trading even higher. The latest rise in prices comes as Donald Trump is once again threatening attacks on Iran's energy infrastructure. Traders are warning an even bigger energy increase could be on the rise if the conflict does not end soon. Aluminum stocks saw gains today after Iran's attacks on major Middle Eastern facilities. There are concerns the already fragile market will plummet into crisis, though, and push aluminum prices to record highs. And Fairfax Financial is backing a proposed deal between Eldorado Gold and Foreign Mining. Fairfax has agreed to vote all of its foreign shares in favor of the acquisition. The deal is worth nearly $4 billion and will target production of about 900,000 gold ounces in 2027. Those are your business headlines. I'm Lindsay Biscaya.
Coming up tonight after the newscast, we've got Extracted at 7, followed by 8 o'clock. Memory of a Killer.
What is that?
Patrick Dempsey. So, yes, it's that.
Oh, that's probably good.
We'll find out at 8.
Okay.
Rookie at 9 o'clock, Big Bang Theory at 10, and E-Talk at 10:30. Okay, so an indoor adventure park. We have it here, Apex in Regina. They're opening soon in Winnipeg, and it's aiming to break a Guinness World Record.
That's right. Apex Adventure Park is opening soon, featuring a custom-built 192-foot trampoline. It was made by its sister company based here in Regina, and they're attempting to get the title of longest trampoline in the world. Managing partner of the company, Luke Shaheen, says they are no stranger to making trampolines, and this one was different.
There was a lot of trial and error and a lot of expertise from our team in Regina. We make trampolines every single day, but this one, we actually took several tries to get it. We found issues with the material stretching and all kinds of stuff that we'd never encountered before. But when you're making a trampoline 190 feet long, it's just the tolerance for error is very, very tight.
Now, the current record holder is a 170-foot long fast track in Russia.
Take that, Russia.
There you
go. Winnipeg's going to beat it. You know, I've gone to Apex with my child a couple times, and like, trampoline's fun. But when you get older,
yeah, it's not so fun.
You get tired quick.
Yeah. When you watch that, you're like, yeah, I used to be able to do that
all the time.
I'm tired watching that.
2 minutes in, and it's just like, I'm going to get water.
Yeah.
And my spine is broken. So
I'll be sitting there when you're done.
Yeah.
Okay, this is a fun one.
Oh, is it?
Maybe. In the UK, a popular Easter treat has been supersized for this year's celebrations.
So this is the world's largest mini egg. 3 feet tall. It's about 120 pounds. It took 2 days to make, filled with milk chocolate as they all are, with that crispy exterior. The egg was created just for this Easter to entertain visitors to the Cadbury World theme park in Birmingham, England. The company's regular mini eggs are only available, at least in the United Kingdom, at this time of year.
Oh.
That's it.
See, we're lucky here.
Well, that used to be the case here, but then recently they're like, we can make lots of money.
And now, have you tried them? There's micro minis. Like, they're like really mini.
How many?
They're so mini. You could eat like the whole bag in one sitting.
Micro minis.
They're good.